I want to introduce myself. You may be unfamiliar with who I am. I want to make sure we leave this time friends. My name is Justin Davis. I'm on the HSM team. Been on the team for about 4 years at student ministry, Blanket Baker here. It's been awesome. But that's not where my ministry time began. Fun fact about me, I did not grow up in a setting like this. I didn't go to church. I didn't do this thing called HSM or MSM or church on Sunday mornings. Most of my weekends were spent traveling for sports, and my parents didn't know Jesus, and people in my family never talked about Jesus. And it was literally my freshman year of high school when I first heard the gospel, first heard about who Jesus was. How many of you are freshmen in this room? Whole section over here, love it. I was your age. Literally, think about this for a second. Many of you probably have heard about Jesus for years up to this point in your life. I was your age the first time somebody shared about Jesus with me. It's kind of crazy to think about. I don't think we realize the gravity of that. I don't know how old are freshmen? I don't even know anymore. It's been so long. 15? 14? Roughly? 14? We'll say 14. I was 14. Actually, I was probably 15 because I was one of those old people in my grade, held back and stuff. I was 15-ish by the time someone introduced me to Jesus. And I love being able to share my story with people like you because I would not be in your seat if it wasn't for Eli Johnson. Eli Johnson was a junior at my high school. I was a freshman. Early on in the school year, Eli Johnson decided to put aside his priorities, put aside his preferences, and he came and sat at my lunch table. Upperclassmen at my school, I don't know if you guys have this here, they had what's called open campus. So he had a car, he could have driven to McDonald's, he could have driven to take a nap at home, he could have done whatever he wanted with his lunch period. But he chose to sacrifice his junior year to come sit at a lunch table with a bunch of freshmen. He had no idea who we were. And he began to make friends. And he started inviting us to the football games on Friday nights. And he started inviting us to different hangouts throughout the week. And he's the one that introduced me to all kinds of incredible board games. Became a board game guy because he was just a fun guy to be around. And then I realized after he started inviting me, he invited me to a place like this, and I started hearing about this Jesus guy. And I didn't really care. I didn't really, think much of it because I was like, that sounds cool. That's great. I'm glad that's cool. But I was just having fun. I just loved coming, and I loved being a part of the friend group that he was inviting me into. But over time, I kept hearing about this Jesus guy, and I kept realizing, there is something different about these guys that is very different from my other friend group who tends to just kind of tear each other down. And I think the only common denominator that I can come up with is this Jesus guy. And I don't know what it means to have a relationship with him, but I think that's what I'm supposed to do. And it was Ryan Cropper, who was Eli's leader, who invested in Eli to set him on a mission, to sit at my lunch table, to build a friendship and a relationship, and ultimately introduce me to the gospel by inviting me to places like this, where after about a year's worth of investment, I had the opportunity to be challenged and accept Jesus for the first time going into my sophomore year. Eli wrecked the roof for me. I was that friend sitting on a mat, helpless, dead in my sin, literally had nothing to do in life other than just all kinds of junk, right? But Eli took his high school experience and he invested his time well by wrecking the roof for me. I would not know Jesus if it wasn't for Eli. And I'd like to say it was picture perfect, came to know Jesus, and then I just started being all in and showing up to everything and learning and growing. And it was a slow trajectory, a slow on-ramp into figuring out how to follow Jesus. So I didn't really figure out what it meant to wreck the roof for other people for quite some time. But when I got to college, I chose college the university I went to because of that friend group. And they were going to this place, and I wanted to be a part of that community. I didn't want to leave that friend group, that community that was being developed and cultivated for 4 years in high school. And because of going with them, they continued to challenge me and spur me on and encourage me to check out what it might be like to be a leader, to lead in a student ministry. And it was when I said yes to that opportunity that I began to realize, oh, I have a part to play in this story that Jesus is developing. Something I'm supposed to do about this mission that God has set each believer on. And I began to realize, oh, I need to invest my life into the lives of others. And so I became a leader, and I had a Bible study of dudes that I got to kind of walk with through their high school experience, and I got to be part of all kinds of incredible opportunities of, getting students just like you in front of the gospel, and it was great, super transformative for me. And what I learned was I actually grew exponentially when I began to die to myself and my desires and my wants and my needs and give it over for the sake of others. Like when I was on mission is when God taught me and grew me and kind of expanded my ability to spiritually be connected with him. I'm just curious, in this room, how many of you might be in that seat, the one that I was in before ever accepting Jesus into my life, that lost student that is still wondering who this guy is. You've been coming around for a little while. Maybe your friends brought you here. Maybe you stumbled in here. Maybe your parents encouraged you to be here. Maybe you're here because you're in trouble and they told you got to be here. I don't know. I don't know what your story is. But can I tell you something? When I accepted Jesus, and this isn't like Pastor Justin, hey, when this is what I got to do. I mean this with all of my heart. When I accepted Christ, I had no idea the adventure he was inviting me into. And I wish I could go back to freshman Justin when I said yes to Christ and shake him a little bit, because I wasted so much time in high school not realizing the impact that I could have on the people around me. Just like in the story we've been talking about, right? The 4 friends that bring their friend to the feet of Jesus, they stopped at nothing. Do you guys remember the verse? They stopped at nothing. They made a way. They had to figure it out. The crowd was in the way. They said, move out of the way, crowd. We're going to the roof. We're going to get our friend to the feet of Jesus. Eli did that for me. I wasted a whole lot of time in high school not doing that for others. I wish I could go back. I wish I could shake myself and say, Justin, the mission is yours. It is everyone who says yes to Jesus. It is your mission to own. But I'm thankful for the investment of Eli and Ryan, who continue to pour into me year after year after year and encourage me and spur me on to eventually get into the game, jump into the adventure of following him. Because when I jumped in, when I stopped receiving and being the one being brought on the mat, and I began to engage in the full life Jesus promised, and I began to try to drag some friends on a mat to the feet of Christ, that's when things took off. That's when I began to realize it is not up to others, it is up to me. We are called to be faithful, to be roof wreckers. What I think is fascinating, this is the last point I'll make, and then I got a special introduction for you. What I think is fascinating is in my family, let's go back to 9th grade Justin, I didn't find out that I had people in my family who knew Jesus until after I came to know Jesus because of my friends. When I said yes to Jesus and, got baptized and all the things and sharing with my family, hey, I got baptized and this is cool, like this is what I'm doing now. Then I heard, oh yeah, I go to church. Oh yeah, like I serve in a group. I attend this. Not once did my family, not my mom, dad, brother, but like extended family around me, ever share about Jesus to me until I came to know Jesus. And that, let me tell you, is very backwards. Challenge for you, something to think about. How are you right now leveraging the position God has placed you in, whatever grade, whatever age you are, the friend groups, the people groups, the families that you live in right this second. How are you leveraging them to be the light of Christ? God calls you to a mission. He calls you to be a roof wrecker. Decision's yours. I am thankful for Eli Johnson. I want to be Eli Johnson for more people. Ultimately, he was an example of Christ who came for us, made a way for us, and continually invites us into his family. And so, that's all I got for you.